Got the recording going. Awesome. All right. So my name is Matthew Clark. I'm the project manager for SOPEC on our RIDES project. We'll kind of dig into what RIDES is, how it's funded, where it's all coming from. But for kind of the sake of this meeting, I know we got some other kind of SOPEC folks on, but like I said, I'm the project manager. Been with SOPEC for a year now, going on the 13th, working on kind of implementing this RIDES project. RIDES is a EV infrastructure project we're working on. It's going to stretch basically Dayton over to Athens to include community and corridor sites, part of CFI. We can get into what those are as well going forward. And again, for the purpose of the meeting, I have Eileen Comerford here. She's the project coordinator on this as well. So we have a general mailbox. It's rides at sopec-oh.gov. That'll be in the slides as well, but that is monitored by herself and myself. So kind of within this presentation, anything afterwards, that's the best way to kind of get a hold of us. But with no further ado, let's kind of get into this RFI webinar, why we're having it, what we're looking for, and all of that. Agenda. So we're going to go over, again, CFI program overview. I know most of you are familiar with what CFI is. Some of you may not be. So we'll go over just a quick synopsis of that. Go over where we're at right now with the RIDES project and kind of looking ahead at milestones for this year, next year, so on. The purpose of this RFI. We'll kind of go through what the RFI looks like, kind of some of the questions and themes, RFI milestones, and then at the end, I'm going to try to leave at least half hour. Like I said, we got about 29 folks, probably 22 of those are outside the organization, so leave plenty of time for any kind of Q&A, about SOPEC RIDES, anything like that. For housekeeping, as you can kind of tell, we're recording this. We'll put this on our YouTube page. After this, we'll put a link to the YouTube page as well in the actual RFI itself, so you guys can go back and look at this. Since we have everyone's email addresses through the registration, we kind of decided if anybody got this from anyone else, you didn't register directly, if you would just kind of put your name and email in. We're going to use this list, and then like I said, if anyone already registered, we're going to send the RFI out to them. And for the kind of Q&A session at the end, we'll ask people to raise their hand, or even, if a question kind of comes up as I'm going through this, feel free to put in the chat and we can answer it at the end as well. But let's get into kind of what CFI is. So CFI is $2.5 billion federal discretionary grant, part of the NEVI, kind of that whole slew of federal grant dollars coming down for EV infrastructure, where we kind of fit into it. So SOPEC has two grants, a community grant and a corridor grant. The difference between those two, just think corridor, NEVI site, right? So minimum 180 kilowatt. It's got to be within a mile of the highway. That's for your kind of fast charge component. And the community side's more workplace charging. We're looking to put in a lot of libraries, public entities. That's level 2, right? I'm coming here. I'm gonna, get a little bit here, top off. So we have kind of two components to the RIDES project overall. One part's community, one part is corridor. So next up is kind of where we're at right now with RIDES. So with any federal dollars, we got to go through the National Environmental Policy Act. Basically, if no one's familiar, they are just looking at, endangered species in the area. Is the chargers going to kind of impact anything like that? Again, this project is ran through Federal Highway, so we're using kind of all their standards and stipulations. They do all this stuff for roads, building bridges over creeks and things like that. We got to do the same thing for EV chargers. It's been going well thus far. EV chargers, as we know, kind of low impact. We're putting into as-built environments that are already, whether they have a concrete pad or things like that already. So CSO out of Miamisburg is our NEPA consultant on that. They're doing a great job, but with kind of getting these sites through NEPA, we're now getting to the stage to where we're going to start building out this design build RFP. Again, those of you not familiar, kind of there's, a million ways to do a project, but the two big main ones that I've seen is, design, bid, build, to where, hey, it's already designed. We already know what we're going to do. We're going to bid on that. This is a little different, to where this is going to be design, build. So the individuals that are going to be coming and responding to our RFP are going to be kind of, it's going to be an engineering firm with an EC, a bigger house, a conglomerate that does both. So it'll be for actual design and bid and build planning. So we hope to get everyone's responses to this RFI within I think the next month plus, and then we will gather all that stuff together and start planning for our RFP, which we hope to release fall winter of 2016. So later on this year, barring all of our NEPA stuff goes good. And we can get all that stuff situated so we have as many sites as possible. Moving on to the next stage, really speak to that kind of RFP that we will be building. So the purpose of this RFI, in talking with a couple different agencies, EV chargers still relatively new, especially a project of this size. Not a lot of firms have done yet. So what we're really looking for is, I've seen a lot on projects to where the RFP that comes out, it's made for Federal Highway, it's made for ODOT. They have not done EV charging in the past, so the RFP doesn't really speak to the goals of the project. What we're trying to do here is kind of open it up for industry, comments really. How would you guys build the RFP? What's worked in the past for you? What hasn't worked in the past for you? That's why we're kind of building all these things up. So our hope is to take everybody's input for the RFI, be able to come up with a really good RFP to where people are really excited to bid on it, look at it, and really dig into it. Some of the kind of things with the RFI, with the RFP. So one thing I do want to really point out is this is all voluntary in nature as far as the RFI goes. Don't feel like you have to, well, if I don't do the RFI, I won't be eligible for the RFP. That is not the case, and vice versa. Just because you do the RFI, there's no like kind of shortlisting or anything like that we've seen before in like RFQs to RFPs. This is solely voluntary from that standpoint. So keep that in mind with all that kind of going forward. But the way the RFI is going to look, so we're going to release the RFI right after this. We have everyone's email address, so we'll release the RFI to everybody. It'll be on our website as well. There'll be links to that website attached here. But the way the RFI kind of looks is just like this. Be a couple kind of introductory paragraphs. It'll show a map of where we're, what we've submitted for NEPA review as far as our sites go, and it'll be in table format. The only real mandatory kind of table that I want everybody to fill out is those general questions. So again, it's just name, company name, phone number, things of that sort. Everything else after that, if I'm an EVSE station owner, I might only want to answer some of them. If I'm an engineering group, I might, only want to answer design build. That's completely fine. Don't feel like you got to answer all of them. The more you answer, the better information we get to kind of put into the RFP. So the more the better. The way that these tables are set up though, hey, there's going to be a question, there's going to be a response. That box for the response is completely expandable. So feel free to expand it out, put as much in it as you want. I think we have a cap on our email of 25 megabytes. So as long as it's under that and we can get it via email, then we're okay with as far as how big the email and all that stuff comes back. But this is, again, basically what it's going to look like as far as question number, question, and response. So for kind of the milestones for this RFI. So again, we're going to release it today for everybody. Again, we'll send an email. If for whatever reason you don't get an email or don't see it, it'll be on our website as well. We're going to kind of open it up for any kind of clarifying questions. We got a lot of questions on there. If you don't understand something, things like that, you can email the rides mailbox with whatever question that is. Those are due by the 30th of January. So make sure you look through it, see if there's anything you want answered. and then we'll compile all those, put in an appendix, and then we will submit as far as answers to those questions by February 6th. Well, at that point, you'll have your, all your questions answered, everything like that. It gives you about 2 weeks then to kind of put everything together, because we're going to close the RFI on February 20th. So if everyone can get their answers in before then, that'll help us out as far as, again, getting everything together in preparation for our kind of design build RFP going forward. With that, before we kind of get into questions, there are some kind of frequently asked questions. So again, just to reiterate, you don't have to respond to the RFP to the RFI rather to be eligible for the RFP. Once we do know the RFP, we're going to put it on our website. Everyone that does respond though in the RFI, we'll be sure to let you know, hey, listen, RFP's on the website, or even, hey, we plan to release the RFP, at this date, just to, give you a heads up. So it will get you, I guess, a little bit in the know if you want any sort of incentive to send us an RFI back. But again, we're not excluding anyone who doesn't submit an RFI from the RFP. And then that same sort of thing there for the RFI responses. This isn't, we're not going to be, grading any firm or anything like that on these. This is all really just to help us with the RFP. So we won't be shortlisting anything like that. But, depending on the questions, and if we need kind of any more clarification from those responses, we might be reaching out to you, in the future, kind of pre-bid discussions to see how a component would work. Something else that has came up. So with a lot of these federal dollars, a lot of projects we worked on, there's a match requirement. So there's a 20% match requirement for all non-federal cost share for this project. Again, there's a couple questions like that in the RFI. So we're seeking any sort of feedback or creative ways to kind of structure that. So that'd be great. And then the other question is, will responses be kept confidential? Yeah. So anything you send us, we're not going to put any of this stuff on the website. This is more just for internal kind of planning purposes, and won't be kind of published publicly. So those are kind of the FAQs top ones that we've seen before. Nice. I mean, I got through that in about 15 minutes. So I'm going to open up kind of the floor here, and we have plenty of time. That's why I scheduled it for this. Like I said, I knew we had quite a bit of folks joining. So if anyone has any questions, again, really about SOPEC, rides, where we're at, what we're looking for in the RFI, things of that sort, feel free. You can type it into the chat, or even raise your hand, and Eileen can help me out here as far as being able to see everyone that does raise their hand. I guess I have this queue thing here. Nice.
Looks like we have a question from Damien.
Hi there. Quick question. I'm assuming you can apply for one or both of the grant projects?
Yeah. So
you don't have to do both.
Yeah. So we're in talking with Federal Highway. The way we want to kind of tackle this. So there's going to be some level 3 charging on the community side as well. So we'll use some community dollars for level 3 charging too. And obviously the corridor will all be level 3 charging. So we can, we're really trying to kind of combine them together. Now we have to keep invoices on that stuff separate for separate grants. But that's all kind of administrative on our side. So yes, you will be able to kind of bid on both projects, as one. And then in that map in the RFI 2 shows both the corridor and the community sites. We're going to have, again, approximately 60 sites. That's what we submitted for NEPA. That's what we kind of, fingers crossed, everything looks good and goes through. But if that does hold up, there's 7 corridor sites, and then there's 53 community sites on the project. So communities, obviously a larger chunk, but it is, corridors going to be a bigger chunk too, because it's all level 3, right? And that stuff, tends to cost a little bit more. So to answer your question, yeah, you can bid on both. We really hope to kind of keep them both together if we can. But again, there's some questions in the RFI that kind of talk about how big is too big, right? I mean, 60 sites is a lot. I know there hasn't been I mean, in the country, period, a lot of projects that have taken EV chargers over, a 60 site span. So we can, once we get to kind of RFP time, decide on, if we do want to divvy it up, if we can, things of that sort. But again, things we're trying to figure out now through the RFI.
Thanks. Yeah, you actually hit my follow-up question, which was, is this single source for all, the entire thing, or are you going to divvy it up? And sounds like you're working that out right now.
Yeah. I mean, administratively, hey, if someone can, prove to us that they have the capability and all that sort of, to do all of them, that'd be great. And we also understand that it's a large project. If we do need to divvy it up to kind of get the best value, then we're okay with that kind of too.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Damien. And then Olivia asked, was this project awarded through CFI round 1?
Yes. 1A and 1B. So 1A was the community, 1B was the corridor. Not a problem.
Then we have Alejandro.
Oh, nice.
Yes, hello. I have a question.
Yeah.
Can anyone bid? Is there a list of approved vendors or EPCs that can bid, or is it open to anyone and everyone?
Right. It's open to everyone, anyone and everyone that can bid on the RFP. We're not, again, there's no short list, and we are we're not a pass-through for ODOT. Like a lot of these projects in other states, they've passed through their Department of Transportation. We are direct with the Federal Highway. So we're beholden to all of Federal Highway, CFRs, things like that. We're borrowing some things from ODOT in the kind of planning period, but as far as being, to your point, kind of going through their list of like approved vendors, we're not doing that. Again, this is a kind of unique project. So we're trying to get as much, as many people that can, join or respond as possible. I think the better for us.
Thank you.
And then we have Keith. What's your question, Keith?
Hi, good afternoon. Just wanted to ask, is any of this going to be required to be BABA compliant?
Yeah. So let's question the kind of RFI with where people are with BABA, but all this stuff does still follow Federal Highway's BABA requirement as far as the equipment goes, correct?
Hey, Matt, if you could let others into the call. I'm not seeing the
Yeah, I got him.
Okay.
I got him, man.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Thank you for ever put that in. All right, Keith, I see that you have a hand up.
Keith.
Sorry, I forgot to lower it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Tanner, you're up next. My bad.
Yep. Thank you. So with the BABA compliance for the project, does that include just the EV chargers themselves, or does that also include all the electrical components that go into the project?
Let me triple check that. I'm leaning towards yes, all of it, just because it's through Federal Highway. But I'll make a note of that for the questions to be answered on the 6th, and I'll get that for you 100%. I know the charger is 100%. Let me triple check on all the electrical equipment as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I think if you can just make a note of that for make sure Baba's for all of it. I said I'm leaning towards yes, it is, but I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to give anybody.
Is it?
Is that I think is that a question, Alejandro? Sorry, was it broken up?
No, sorry.
Oh, all good. I think there's a question in the chat.
Okay, there's that was about the map, the rides map. The only difference between the green and the orangish yellow are the region, southeast versus southwest.
Yep.
And then we have a question from Thomas.
Hey there. Yeah, do you have a preference towards a provider from Ohio in any shape or form?
We haven't built out any sort of criteria or anything like that for the RFP. It might be, it might not be. Again, for us, as SOPEC, as a cog, we're kind of beholden to to our members. So for us, it's really best value, whether you're coming from West Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. The best value, I think, is what's going to kind of win out, right? We want a charging experience that, a lot of charging companies have gotten to, right? It's going to be easy, it's going to be convenient, they're going to work. So if we can prove that, then that, I think, trumps where they're coming from or anything like that.
Thank you.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have one last question. I'm sorry,
yeah,
you lowered my hand. One last question. Is there a platform or a site where you can connect manufacturers with construction or engineer? Because we manufacture the chargers, they're bio compliant, they're here in Ohio, but maybe there's some local contractors in the Dayton area that are more suitable to respond better to the bids. So is there a way that you can connect parties?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a way. We have a list, a lot of these invites that we've sent out for the list from Drive Ohio, things like that. We can probably put something together before go ahead, Dana.
Actually, speaking of that, that's probably a little bit outside of our typical realm of what we would do and what we would have the capacity to do. However, with other federally funded projects, something I have seen in the past is they create like a spreadsheet shared, like a publicly available document, and people can put in their information, what they do, where they are, what they would be interested in. It's sort of like just a universal document that people can contact each other because it's on there, and do some matchmaking on their own. So that's definitely probably something we could create and offer to everybody to sort of allow for those inputs, and ahead of the RFP response, if you want to reach out and make some connections and have some interviews amongst yourselves, things like that to find the right fit. We could probably definitely create that tool to help facilitate some of that. It's pretty common across like multidisciplinary, like federally funded projects. So there's definitely some models out there that I think we could easily implement.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan.
We have a running list of, with press releases with us kind of doing this project and getting the RISE name out there. People that are interested, to your point, hey, I'm a electrician that's interested, I'm an engineering firm that's interested. I think that's something we can kind of publish on the website as far as, to Dana's point, hey, we have this many people that are interested in this part of it. So we'll work on that internally, and we can kind of get that again. We have the list. We just need to make it ready for the website, so we can probably put on the website pretty early. But I will again, I can kind of put that in the response for the questions. I'll make that a question as far as is there going to be a place where contractors, engineering groups, and things of that sort can get together? We'll have the answer, and then we'll put the the link to that kind of spreadsheet on the website too. So that's the way we'll move going forward. All right. Question from
a question in the chat. Is that what you were going to say, Matthew?
Yeah. Jeff's question is, can you share more about the design and build process? So the RFP will be turnkey response with everything from engineering, site planning, sourcing, installation, chargers, providing the network, and service unit day 2. Is that accurate? Yeah, that's accurate. So we're really looking for kind of the all-in-one for the RFP process. That's that's what we're leaning towards now. The one thing the only thing we're worried about is like, can someone bite off 60 sites and do all those sorts of things? Again, there's questions like that in the RFI that'll speak to us as far as, do we divide this up geographically, based on level of charger, things like that. But going forward, the plan is, hey, everything from engineering, so we come and engineer it, work with the site host owners. We're getting everything through NEPA. So the site will be, the site's going to be clean. We'll know where the power is coming from. The engineering firm will, then be dispatched to basically get the power to where we want the chargers within the parking lot, and then build out, what that budget looks like for putting everything together between conduit, pad, switchgear, chargers, all of that. And then that is, yes, to include the day 2. So again, federal project. So there'll be at least a 5-year maintenance kind of contract attached to all these chargers to make sure they're up and running. For federal government's not going to give them money for it to be broken within the year. So again, questions on what that looks like, how long want that maintenance contract and all that stuff to last. But yeah, all in one if we can. But again, come RFP time, again, this RFI is just to kind of give us an insight on what the RFP is going to look like. Come RFP time, that definitely kind of could change as far as, hey, we'll pick, there's going to be somebody for design build engineering, there's going to be somebody for maintenance, however we kind of divvy that up. But really looking at, what's the appetite, what's the industry appetite, right, on how, how many people we're going to have realistically kind of bid on stations of this size. And then to kind of follow up with Andy's to what service maintenance warranty requirements after, oh yeah, nice, perfect. So yeah, there's at least a 5-year span from Federal Highway. If we can figure out something in the RFP to make that an easy transition to continue on, because we want these chargers to be in the ground for as long as possible, as long as they're usable life, that would be ideal.
We are still working on a lot of the structure of that, though, in terms of performance period for the grant itself and reporting requirements and everything we're obligated to with the funding. And then what does that look like afterwards? So we're exploring what kinds of options we would have and how to frame that up in the language. So that input on those RFI questions is really helpful for us to really, understand what kinds of things might be what people have experience with, or what things might be happening on the industry side of things, for us to evaluate all those different pathways there too.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. All right, anybody else have any questions?
Matthew, I may have one more. Sorry.
All good. No apologies needed.
Is there any estimated timing, both on RFI, RFP, and grant awarded?
Yeah, so we're looking at the RFP to be released come fall, winter of this year. It really depends on how quickly we can get these NEPA sites through kind of Federal Highway, make sure they're good to go. Hey, listen, we know exactly how many sites we're going to be moving forward with. So that's when we obviously release the RFP. So again, once we do have an RFP date, or even when it's released on our website, everyone that's kind of here today with the email addresses, you guys will kind of be the first to know as well.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. All right. There's no more questions. I just have kind of like a summary slide and then the end. So again, purpose of the RFP, really just kind of share your input, technical design, site considerations, any sort of, pricing structure you've seen work, things again that don't work, right? Hey, listen, we've been on a project, this really didn't work out that well. Like, I'd probably steer away from that. We're looking for all of it. But again, just to reiterate, once you take a look at the RFI, if there's anything that doesn't make sense, you want any sort of clarifying questions and like that, just get those back to us by January 30th. Again, to that rides at SOPEC email address. Once we have all those, we can get all of our answers for that. That's even questions for like maybe it'd be for Federal Highway or somebody like that. Feel free to, hey, what's the CFR? If you reference the CFR, like what does this actually mean? Things like that. So let us know. Again, deadline for that is January 30th. Once we have all those, we will put them together. We will release those about the 8th of February, and then make sure we get all of the RFI responses back in by February 20th. Again, end of day. So February 20th is a Friday. As long as you get in basically before midnight, all good. So once we have all that, we'll compile it, and like I said, we'll start building out our RFP, and that will be released. Yeah, fingers crossed, kind of at the end of the year, and we will go from there. With that, again, we got the QR code. You can follow the project. We have, like I said, a website. It's sopec-oh.gov, and then just /rides, RIDES. That has project updates in it. Like I said, it's got the map. We've had some community input for NEPA that's on there as well. But that's going to be where we post everything. That's where this RFI is going to be. And then any sort of more news that we have will be posted there as well. So if anybody has any last minute questions, if not, then we can call it adjourn. I just finished up a little bit early. Like I said, feel free to, send in questions, even if it's not on the, RFI specifically. If you have questions just in general, let us know and we'll get you an answer back. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matthew.
Yeah, of course.